I'm going to go by drawing out the shape of the brain. In this one up my hand that's where the eyes are. And we're using a charcoal pencil, which is a little bit heavier. Now you can see the texture of the rock is quite grainy, so it can mean we're going to have a couple of coats. So it doesn't matter too much if you make mistakes, or indeed if you go quite heavy, or because you know you're going to go over that several times over. There's two portions of the brain we're working on here. This top half is like a looping chain. At the top, the actual edges of that chain are going to fold under into where the eyes are, so they don't actually have to be included in this chain. And again also on your right side, and that's where the two hemispheres of the brain join, and of course that's going to be an edge. On this back portion, it's actually a three-way join. Just moving down into the second lower part of the brain here. It's going to be another chain, but it won't meet with the upper level. So that join I was talking about at the bottom part of your screen, that's where the top half will link down into the bottom. There is of course further lines lower than this, but they're more straight, as it were, and they link together more frequently. So you don't have to worry about that kind of chain on that portion there. As I mentioned before, I'm going to put several coats on, and I'm mixing the colours on the stone rather than in a palette. So here you can see sort of a semi-mixed pink and white, that's going in the chain, whereas a grey-black is going in between. This being the first coat, it can be quite rough. It doesn't have to be exact. We are mixing on the screen, so you can do both coats back to back, adding depth of colour as you go. So where your paint might start white, it'll get just have more colour in it. I'm going to water these down quite late in the drawing as well. So I water them down to mix them. Again, the eye sockets are at the top of the screen. I'm starting with a wide brush, but as you get into these crevices, you move down to finer brushes. With more bigger brushes, wider area, and then smaller heads, just like getting into the details, but without changing the paint colour, just changing the brushes there. A slight bit of shading here, not too much. If you look here, I've started to shade in a little bit of the in between, and this is like the colours going on in between the white. And again, you should leave some time between doing the white and doing the part between the brain, the shading, because you don't want the colour to bleed. Okay, I'm just starting with a little bit of highlighting. Now in this picture there's been, this white represents where the sun is shining, so where it's catching light. Again, this will be blended down in a little bit. And you see the view has rotated this picture as well, so you're sort of looking at it the right way up at the moment. And the light's coming across from the right. So there won't be too much highlighting lower down, but these like larger threads will get a little bit more attention. It's sort of making it more 3D effect. And again, we will blend this down a little bit. Look at the screen, you can see it's still a bit pitted right in the middle. You can just see that the paint hasn't really gone all the way through, this way we need these second coats going over. can still see the sort of base. And as with the water, I'm just going to blend these through, just loosely, because I don't want to like really take away the highlighting. I just want it to be a little bit less obvious. There we go. Just edge that down because obviously there's parts of the screen you can't see here, and like underneath. So I'm just using water to blend in that white. Now I'm coming in with red here, and this is just actually a bit of strong red with a bit of burnt umber, and this sort of represents the brains. You can just see up on the side of the palette there, like the veins that are going through the brain. So there'll just be some flecks, and obviously they're going to be more noticeable in the white portions. What you have to realise with this medium is that you're going to like a varnish, coat it at the end, like to protect it, and that's going to sort of change the colour slightly. They'll be slightly more muted. You might lose a little bit of this white, so it's important to make it quite strong. Here we go, and I think we're upside down, but here we are with all the flecks put through it. And then after the flecks we have this sort of, let's say, goo, or I don't know what I'd call it, but it's not a matte surface. So I'm recreating that here with some like it's like Pritt stick to give it sort of an opaque feel. We are going to fix it in a second. But I'm just going to mix some of the fixative with this glue. And I'm not using a brush, I'm just using the back of the brush here. Predominantly we're going over this white area that has caught the sun over the top rather than underneath. It's more predominantly found. Not too mad, just a little bit, like a film. Get a slightly slimy look. Now, as a final thing, I'm just going to seal this, and this will dry clear. So I'm just going to cover the brain liberally with, well, I'm using Mod Podge, but you can use any varnish. I've been known to use yachting varnish as well. But you'll need like a couple of coats to make it truly waterproof. And of course you've had to leave it to dry at several points through this, specifically after doing the red. Yeah, the red veins.
Hello.
So I can hear the brush on the picture, so I know it's quite the rock is quite rubbly still, so it needs this sort of smoothing over.